Shing shing. Chick-fil-A TCG.
It's a great day here at the Texas Mesquite Regional on the day of, it's in June, right? Yeah, it's in June. It's the one of the only two tournaments where we're at this really busted format where Red Purple Law is just the deck. Today we have Xell. How are you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Obviously a little sad to get knocked out in top 32, but just happy to be here in general.
Good.
So
well,
yeah.
I'm happy you did make top cut. Is this your first top cut for an offline event, right?
Yeah, the other events that I've gotten, like top 64 or whatever, like they haven't had top cut. So this is my first experience at a top cut, so that's exciting.
How was the actual experience of top cut?
It's pretty interesting because you get open deck lists, so you can see your opponent's deck list and play around things specifically. So one of my matchups, the Uta that I played against doesn't have a backlight in their deck. So that meant that my 5-cost blockers, I can just go ahead and block free 5-cost 5k attacks because I'm not scared of the backlight. So stuff like that, like you can kind of metagame their deck a little bit and think about like how you want to game plan in it. And that's really interesting, and that's where like I'm thankful for my play group to give me advice and like help me through some of the decision making and stuff like that.
It's a team game after top cut.
Yeah,
right?
Once you get to top cut, you know, you and your friends like get together, look at the deck list, and come up with a game plan. And you know what's actually funny though is I miscounted. I shouldn't say it was not my mistake. We were talking about who I'd be playing, and we miscounted by one because we didn't have the physical bracket. So I was preparing against Uta, and we like played Uta games last night, and I ended up playing against Moria. So
really?
I was like, wait, why am I playing against a Moria right now? But it didn't matter.
So top 64 was a Moria, not an Uta?
Yeah, not an Uta.
Practice?
And I practiced doing Uta, but it was good anyways because my next round, the person I lost to was the Uta player, so it ended up working out. It ended up working out. Yeah.
And then was this the same one without the backlight? Like.
Yeah, the guy with that. Yeah.
So you at least knew that some information. That's really funny.
Yeah.
You still ended up playing that guy eventually, but.
So
unfortunately, I mean, before we go on the deck, what exactly happened in that game? Like, was it close? Game 3?
Or is
it a bad matchup? Like
that series, game 1, I kind of just saw the nuts, and I think RP Law just has a really high ceiling. So I was just able to kind of get my engine going. Game 2. He was able to just see 3 different 8-cost kids, and he was able to really slow me down and grind me down. So he ended up taking that one. And the last game was kind of a slobber knocker. I was able to remove things, but he ended up, instead of like cheating things out necessarily, he was able to just like go super wide just by playing all his 3-cost Uta blockers. Like I think he played 4 of them that game, and it was just a lot for me to deal with, and he's just been it's just really hard for Red Purple Law to also deal with somebody who's going wide really fast because obviously the RP Law ability, you can only remove one thing at a time. So but no, it was still a close game. It came down to the wire, and it was unfortunate. I just needed a 2K out of either my Rage draw or my life, but it is what it is.
I mean, one other thing I don't like about Top Cut is the time, but with Red Purple Law,
not a problem.
It's not a problem. With Sakazuki, problem.
Yeah.
With Red Purple Law, not a problem.
Queen, there was a Queen in top 64.
Yeah.
It was a problem.
It was?
I think so. I think they did go to time.
Well, it depends what they played against.
I think they played into a Moria.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I blame Moria now, actually, more than the Queen. But with that, actually, we'll go over the deck list first, then your experiences. But with that, you're playing Red Purple Law.
Yep.
And maybe you have a couple different choices. Just what's the first card you want to go over?
I'm just going to go through them real quick. I think 4 Otama, so 2K is important. Otama's great because -2. I think that's just core. I think some of the more interesting choices, I actually went down to 6 Gordons, which I think is lower than the normal amount, but I'll get into that in a little bit.
Yep.
I think for a lot of people, this was the tournament that broke out Zorojuro. Without Sakazuki in the meta game, 3 costs are a lot more viable, especially when attacking 3 costs. Because also without Great Eruption, Moria also doesn't have a very clean way to deal with Zorojuro if it comes down early.
Was this pretty relative in your games yesterday?
I think Zorojuro is the GOAT. Yeah, he's just a magnet for
removal.
Yeah, for removal, and the extra Dawn matters a lot going on your odd curve. Like I think an unanswered Zoro just steals the game, and sometimes like in the early game I'll protect it heavily just to make sure like my Dawn goes crazy.
This is a really good into like most matchups. Red Purple Law just removes it, but like.
But even Red Purple Law, like, so this is a lot of the thinking I did beforehand is like, I think 3-cost 4Ks are a really, really strong place in this weird semi-format that we're in, because again, 3 cost is just a little awkward for Moria to deal with, and the 4K is just outside Law's range, and so Law also has to commit something to
like perfect.
to get Zoro. So like 3-4 is like exactly where you want to be when it comes to like thinking about 3 costs.
Yeah, let's go over the next 3-4.
Yeah, next 3-4, Shiraya. Shiraya is just kind of like a role player, you know, like he is he's essentially a 3-5 blocker, which is just very good, and he's just goated in certain matchups too. So Black Yellow Luffy, Whitebeard, like all these leaders that attack big, and again with Zoro, it can be really annoying for them when you like remove the thing that they played. You have a rest of Zoro, they want to swing at it, but Shiraya's there, and now it's just a 1K. They can't add Dawn to their leader to do anything about it. So like
Card's goated, like pretty actually like.
Shiraya's great.
Yeah,
he's like I think some people are playing up to 4 of him. I respect that. Yeah. So
I think it's valid, but and then you have this is a staple.
Yeah,
at least
staple.
till 308, you know, but.
Not a lot to talk about there, so I don't know. I feel like he's interesting.
I mean, is he relative in the mirror? Like, I know he gets just usually auto removed, or is that like he's a bait so they don't remove like a Zoro?
I think, relatively speaking, I dislike him in the mirror because, just the fact that he just gets removed without a lot of value is just not great. But obviously, he's really good in certain matchups. Like, a lot of times against Moria, I just leave him standing. Like, I want to be able to get more than just a 4-5 value out of this guy. Like, I dare them to play Moria at that point, because
they
then
actually advise not to, right?
Yeah. So like learning when to swing with Bond Clay was kind of an interesting learning lesson for me. Next up, we have Ein. Ein is one of those cards.
You run 4 of it, or?
Yeah, I run 4.
Okay.
Which I talked to some of my friends about, because Ein's like a card that you kind of dislike a lot as Law, because it's a brick and you already run so many bricks in this deck, and so having yet another 4 bricks is super annoying. However, she is a 4-5 and she ramps you. There just isn't really a good replacement.
If you were to take out of a card so far, would this be like I'm high on the list, like taking out 2 of these?
Oh God. I honestly don't know. It's so hard. Like, I feel like Ein, like putting Ein in your deck is like eating your vegetables. You're like, I don't want to, but I feel like I need to. Because like so much of your game plan for minusing, like if you don't have one of these 4 costs that ramp you, like you start to go negative in Dawn, and that becomes a problem really quick.
Yeah. What's the next one we're looking at?
And this is a last-minute addition to the deck. 2 toy promo Laws.
Yeah.
I literally changed this the morning of the tournament. I was agonizing over this decision, but I think this guy's amazing in this current format. So
I agree.
Yeah, the read on the format was that we would see a lot of Red Purple Law mirrors, Moria, and Uta. That ended up being the case, and all 3 of those decks rely on their 5Ks. You know, you got Nami from Uta, all the Thriller Bark 5Ks from Moria, and obviously Law. This guy, amazing. I'm so glad that I did that last-minute change. Yeah,
I agree. It's it didn't seem like a very good idea to most people for maybe like previous formats, right? But now that it's this is actually hard to remove.
Specifically because we're in this like weird 4-cost or like 5K meta. Like I think Law just gets a lot of value. And
obviously we have best pot of greed.
The card's gross. Drawing 2 cards is just insane. This is a little bit of a decision point. So some Laws run only 8 2Ks, and I decided that was too little. And I had played around with the idea of Sanji, which some people had played.
For Nels.
For Nels, but I thought that was too narrow of a use case. And Hitokiri Kamazo actually came up, even his effect came up pretty heavily in some matchups. like for the mirror, there was a guy who played out his Gordons early, thinking that he could get away with it, thinking that
punished him.
Yeah. So then Hidokiri Kamazo, I was able to then remove his actual body that he put on, and then also clear out the Gordon, and like that's just like
that is gross.
That was really good. And then the fact that he's also just a 4/5 in this deck is also really useful. Like if you have Sanji in hand and you don't have a 4-cost to play, like you don't play Sanji. So
this is actually it's a Punisher if your opponent doesn't respect those key aspects.
And yeah, just the 4/5 is a big deal, I think, and it just helps you keep on spitting out relevant bodies.
Yeah.
Next we have Kid and Killer. Card's disgusting.
Yeah.
That's crazy that they printed a 4-cost 7K rusher. That's,
Would you say with this card, I mean, do you need to see this card to win most games? Like, or is this like a you just it shuts them out too early, you know? Like
you want to see at least 1, and 2 is fantastic. 3 is a little much. The way I see him is he's obviously a great finisher, but he also is really potent in the board removal game. And so if I have too many of them in hand, like I start using them as 4-cost 7K attackers into their board, which is great.
Yeah. It's tricky. You can play really tricky with it, right?
Yeah, and like it just adds a lot of complexity to your opponent's like you know, game plan defensively.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's gross.
Okay. Sachi Penguin.
Sachi Penguin, also my goat. He is a 2K. He's a 4/5. That's already fantastic. And then on top of that, his on play is just amazing.
Ramp 2.
Yeah.
With the on play, right? I mean, how do you need to see this? You see this a lot yesterday in your early game?
I don't remember. I think I saw him a lot. I really covet hands that have Shachi and Penguin because he is the start to your high roll like lines. Like being able, if you're on your even curve and you play out like an Iron, even if you don't bottom deck anything from your opponent, being able to play Shachi and then come up even in Dawn afterwards is just crazy because now you've played 2 4/5s on your 4 Dawn turn and you'll still go up to 6 Dawn your next turn.
Yeah. And you have 2K counter, which is relevant when you were about to lose. So
yeah. And speaking of 2Ks, like again, I played 10 of them, which is I think again higher than some of the people I've been talking to. But I think this is also a format where combat, a lot of people are swinging into each other's board a lot. So I wanted the extra 2Ks to give myself a little bit more room there.
Sure. Yeah. Got it.
Next up, Miss All Sunday. I actually, beforehand, I was considering playing 3 of her. She's really good in the mirror. Just the draw power that she gives you, being able to draw a card and ramp means that she also kind of plays like Ein a little bit. Yeah. And sometimes the trigger is relevant. It hasn't been for me.
It's a better Ein, realistically.
And great on your odd curve. So like my deck can go odd pretty easily. Like Zorojuro into Miss All Sunday is a great line. She's great.
Because of this deck, do you prefer to go first because you have this as an option?
I think it's matchup dependent, but I think generally with this, now I'm not afraid to go first. Like
in the mirror, do you choose to go first or second?
I also went back and forth on this. I think second is better, but
maybe first has a high roll potential. But
first can really punish someone who's going second with not a lot of counter in hand because you immediately start the pressure.
For sure.
Miss All Sunday, great card, and also being a 5-cost is really good into Moria, and the draw power also great into Moria. Kid, same thing.
Comes up.
Just a very core card to the deck. 5/6 blocker is great. It's also not a brick. The effect is amazing.
And finally,
how
do you feel about Queen in this deck?
I love Queen. So I think specifically because I'm running so many rampers, right? I've got the Kid, Shachi, Zoro, Mr. 2, Ein. I feel like I'm always in a pretty comfortable spot Dawn-wise that like Queen comes down and just, again, filters me cards. The thing I was most scared about into this weekend was breaking out and just having hands that had no counter. And again, Queen can help you do that or search you into, more action, more Reijus, so on and so forth. So 3 Queens, I don't think I'd ever go below 3 Queens just because I think she's that important. Or he's that important, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
But yeah, so that's the deck list.
I mean, with yesterday, you don't have to go over every matchup. Was there any matchups that were particularly difficult for you at all?
Some tricky matchups, I would say. I mean, Moria is just really a difficult matchup. I think, yeah, I think people who can really play the resource game against our Red Purple Law is kind of your antithesis, because when you're dropping 2 cards a turn without the same sort of draw power that some of these other decks have, it can be hard to keep that pressure up and have the resources needed to either guard your guys to continue that pressure or to even protect yourself. So I think those matchups tend to be a little bit trickier, but I've been pretty lucky. I have been able to, I did win against Moria quite a few times this weekend, which is great. Again, Toy Law was just fantastic in that matchup, so yeah.
Is there any like Red Purple Law mirror? Are you pretty confident with that right now, just because you're playtesting?
Red Purple Law mirrors, I played a lot of. Shout out to the GOAT Jansuko, who is part of our like play group, and we played a lot of mirrors, and we were just talking about the game plan a lot. I do think the mirror is kind of reminds me of like Sokka mirrors a little bit, where like both of you guys are kind of just removing each other's board and playing something, you know, and you're just kind of doing that back and forth, and whoever runs out of gas first, just you lose, right? So
and it's a Dawn minus game, like, you know, like you're racing to the bottom.
So. And that's the thing, is like a lot of Red Purple Law mirrors, if both players do see a lot of the things they need, it's really funny because you guys will both be at like 1 card in hand, 3 Dawn, and you're trying to end the game with both of you guys at 2 life. Like, so it's pretty silly in those scenarios, but yeah. Okay,
great. I mean, what are your thoughts on OP07? You gonna be trashing this guy through everything, or you trying to keep yourself open to any other option, or is this just is this the game for you now, Red Purple Law?
I don't know. I'm such a I don't know if this term even carries over to card games, like an altaholic. Like, I like playing a lot of different decks. Like, when I was preparing for this tournament, I was like, at first I was gonna play Uta, then I tried Black Yellow Luffy, and then I settled on Red Purple Law in like the last week, and so I'll probably try out a few of the decks. Obviously the top 3 decks of next format, I think, are like Red Purple Law, Black Yellow Luffy, and probably Lucci. But I don't know, maybe Bonnie looks fun, so I don't know, we'll see.
Just do whatever frustrates your opponents the most.
It
seems like a good way to play, right?
Love that.
So, all right, any like shout outs? I'm gonna put your Twitter down in the description so people can follow you. Obviously, you have a great YouTube channel, right? Honestly, the quality's good. The quality's great.
Appreciate it. I wish I had more time to work on the YouTube, but shout out to my play group. We call ourselves the KFJs. We're Westside LA, and they helped me prepare for this tournament and this format. And other than that, that's really my big shout outs. My play group and the YouTube channel. So
maybe you'll also see him in our Discord, okay? Because we're talking about RP Law, so feel free to join that, guys. And his Twitter will be in the description. See you all in the next video. Ciao.